Hello everybody, Dusty Sage with MyChat.com here. I am joined by this feller back here in the hat.
Nathan
Villamore. And we're going to take you on a little journey because it is spring break and it is crowded here in the park. So we want to show you what's going on here. One of the things impacted by all the crowds is Small World, because ToonTown, of course, is reopened, and so many more people are back in this little corner of the park that it gets busy for Small World and for the Lion King show. Now, I am squinting in the sun. I'm going to put my finger on the screen here and flip that around at my face, and we are going to take you into ToonTown, which has, of course, been very busy. Everybody wants a chance to see the new land. Now, with the reopening of Roger Rabbit, Goofy's Play Yard, the Gadget Go Coaster, it has moderated crowds a little bit for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So still very busy, running about an hour-long wait right now, but it's 90 minutes for Roger Rabbit. So that tells you people wanting to do what's brand new. They've had a chance to ride Mickey and Minnie, but they haven't had a chance yet to do Roger Rabbit. Strollers lining the pathway into the land. This is the disabled ramp, by the way. I wouldn't be taking it if there was somebody in a wheelchair, but it's very crowded in that walkway, so we're zooming up the side route. Hope you all are doing well, and please feel free to leave comments because Nathan is here to answer them for you. Busy, busy, busy. Few things to show you in this land, so we will take a walk through, don't you worry. We're gonna start over here, and if you want to have a perfect picnic, not as easy to find a spot because about half of this lawn is taken up by stroller parking. They did create stroller parking in that building back there. That was the trolley barn, and now it is a stroller parking barn. But they parked the overflow of strollers out here on the lawn, which leaves very little space out here to have a perfect picnic. In fact, I only see one perfect picnic going on. See a family back there with the blanket and the bucket. And over here, a 75-minute wait for Roger Rabbit. Now, when we got here a little earlier, it was 95 minutes. So this changes rapidly. They have created an overflow line over here. And Nathan, are they doing Lightning Lane here? Because I don't, oh yeah, they are doing Lightning Lane. So this is a Lightning Lane ride. All of the effects over here have been fixed. So you see kids opening drawers. It's hard to open that lid when you're standing on it. Kids do the strangest things. I was going to walk through this way. I'm not sure we can get through because this is all overflow for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, a modern masterpiece. The Gag Factory sign there is directly over where you used to be able to get into the shop. Let's see if we can get through. Been squeezed through right here. We're guessing it's about an hour for this ride. I'll take a look here. I'm trapped. There we go. 75 minutes now. So it's 55 minutes earlier, about an hour now. It's 75. So the two rides have sort of equalized. I bet that means that the Mickey and Minnie's was down earlier and reopened, and now it's starting to get busier. This is the beautiful fountain here in Centennial Park. And one thing you'll notice is how wet it is underneath the fountain. They have determined that they underestimated how wind would catch these little fountains on the tables there and blow the water. So you can see a lot of water splashing out. As long as it's contained within the perimeter of this circle and that drain is able to get it all, they're fine. But if it's a particularly windy day, they may have to turn some of the water effects down. So they have to take a look at that. Chubby shoulder plush is now out. It's very popular.
Are all these little clamshells supposed to do something?
Yeah, you know, the clamshells are, they have little holes in them where water is supposed to shoot out. We think they're not quite done programming everything. As you can see that there are water jets in the center of each clam. And even the lily pads there have little spray jets, but we've yet to see them working.
I'm so wet.
Are you? Nathan's getting wet. He's complaining already.
I didn't dress for rain.
Sorry, ladies. Let's sneak out here. Some folks have been a little underwhelmed by the Dreaming Tree here. It's not very big, but we talked to some folks that planted it, and they said that it was a much larger tree. They had to trim it way back to get in the park, but when you're underneath it, you can see it's pretty big. It goes all the way up there, but as it leaps out, it will look much larger. So give it a little time to grow in. Lots of kids running around here in the park. We were on a grassy lawn here, so they've removed a lot of the hardscape that used to be in this land, replaced it with a lot of faux grass. I can't get over how crowded this is. Last time I was in here was for the media event. Of course, it was a tiny fraction of the number of people, but they have crazy switchbacks everywhere. You wouldn't know what this is for, but I believe this is for Cafe Daisy. There's some interesting food, flopovers, hot dog loaded with mac and cheese and chips. But this is where you buy your picnic basket at Good Boy Grocer's Market. You buy your picnic basket, and then you can select items to put in it. And they have changed how this looks too. They used to have the baskets all around that post there, but they don't anymore. So now I think they have you line up on the far side there and pick your items. They have all the items here now. This back wall gives you an idea. They have some pickles and cheese and cuties and all sorts of stuff. Hard to enjoy an interactive land the more people that there are. This being spring break and the opening of a new attraction has made this extra crowded. Here's another little lawn. This is the one they removed Mickey's fountain and created this lawn. It is absolutely packed with people like they're at a concert. Mickey's house back there. Crowded, right, folks?
Look at all the people having picnics.
Yeah, it's a few picnics going on over here.
And also stroller parking.
And lots of stroller parking. The strollers are bigger than they've ever been. When I was a kid, strollers were smaller, and you didn't use one till as late in life as people seem to be using them now. So the usage of strollers has changed over time, and how people use them, what they use them for. Donald is there inside the yard for his boat, Nathan, in the water play area, but I think they still have the water elements off, so they're using it as a meet and greet instead. That's another water element of this land that isn't quite working yet. How long is the line here? 75 minutes for Gadget's Coaster? Is that correct, Nathan?
25.
25. Are you sure?
But that's what the app says. But
up here it says
definitely
75. Look at that. 75 minutes for Gadget's Go Coaster.
It's
Dusty Sage warning for you all.
And it's the same attraction as before, so it's still the same.
Do not wait 75 minutes for Gadget's Go Coaster. It's a 25-second ride, if that.
That's being generous.
I think it's 20 seconds. And if you waited 75 minutes for it, you would be disappointed. One thing I love, Nathan, this is Yummy's popcorn over here. And this little Yummy right there, he or she, is the most adorable little ghost-like popcorn. This is the Quiet Yard, also a good place to come and have.
Popcorn, or is it just
You know what's special
yummy?
about it? It's yummy. That's
Couldn't
yummy.
That,
That's
couldn't
yummy
that be said
popcorn,
about
Nathan.
all the popcorn in the park?
Oh, it's yummy.
This is yummy
That
popcorn.
is yummy popcorn. All dogs must be kept on a leash, Nathan. A little less crazy back here in park because people don't know this is back here. So this used to be where Chippendale's treehouse was, and now it's a little quiet area. There's a cave back here. This used to be Chippendale's ball pit. Remember, you could jump in. Yeah, well, you would catch conjunctivitis or something if you jumped in that pit. Kids were going to the bathroom in that ball pit, and then more kids would jump in on top of it. It was gross. They eventually shut it down. But it makes a lovely seating area. You can see they have all sorts of seating here along the wall. And they even put some benches in to the area underneath. So one thing we're going to notice on our journey today, and we will talk about in the Monday update, is how many benches have been added all over the park. That's a good thing. That's good news. Bad news, spring break, very crowded. Good news, the park is adjusting and starting to add more seating and things to make the experience a little more comfortable. So
There's
big
a question
changes.
about what this coaster was called before its new name.
Well, the new name is Chippendale's Gadget Go Coaster. The old name was Gadget's Go Coaster. So basically they just added Chippendale to it. And Gadget is still here. It's just they figure that most people probably don't know who Gadget is anymore.
I always
but you
thought
see
it was
her.
Inspector Gadget.
I always thought it was Inspector Gadget. It wasn't. Gadget's a little bit better. It's Chippendale's Gadget Coaster. So they removed the word go. Look how busy this is, folks. We're having trouble getting out of the land because it's crazy busy. The things we do. Ando is correct. Tip here, don't visit Disneyland when it's spring break. That's a good tip, Ando. However, for many, many people, they can only visit Disneyland when their kids are out of school. So not all schools have spring break at the same exact time, and you just kind of go with the flow. But people don't realize how crowded it's going to be. So it's very important to come with the correct expectations, make sure your kids know what to expect so they're not disappointed when they get here. If your goal is to come and ride as many rides as you can, not a good time of year to be here. But if you just want to come to Disneyland, see some characters, some shows, ride a few key attractions, maybe get Genie Plus, then it's doable. It's just very crowded, so your kids need to know before they go. Say, all right, kids, it's going to be very, very crowded, but we can go to Disneyland if you want. I just don't want to hear you complain if it's too crowded. So you let them know in advance.
But isn't reservations supposed to do away with overcrowding?
Reservations, we would have hoped, would have done a better job than this, but I think Disney just wants to make as much money as they can, so they're not really limiting as much. It's still hard to get a reservation, so they're clearly limiting. Can you imagine what this would be if they didn't have any limit, Nathan? You wouldn't be able to move at all. That would have been insane back there.
There were a few comments saying that people tried to get a reservation for today, and it was completely sold out.
Oh yeah. So reservations are still happening and they are still limiting crowds, but they've obviously raised the attendance capacity as you would expect because they have added new things. So they added capacity, they added Roger Rabbit, they added Goofy's Play Yard, they added Gadget's Coaster back, they've added the Donald Boat area. So that is all additional capacity, and I'm sure they raised the park attendance cap by approximately that capacity.
But people aren't going to be staying in ToonTown all day.
Exactly, that's the problem. So they raised the cap, but those people don't just stay in that one land, they're all over the place. And on top of it, a lot of attractions have been breaking down, so you have more people, but attractions are breaking down a little more frequently than they used to in the past. It's still a maintenance crisis here at the park. Part of that is due to, during the Bob Chapek era, they cut back on the amount of maintenance they were doing. Part of that is just while the parks were closed, a lot of maintenance wasn't happening. They lost a lot of maintenance staff. Right away, we're going to see some of that good news. Of course, some of this may be for the parade, but you see some benches on the sides over there, the side of the parade route. We've been noticing benches in all sorts of places. Some more benches on the side. You see people actually using them. It has been so hard for these last couple of years to find a spot in the parks to just sit.
So there's a question. that's asking to compare spring break from years past to now.
Well,
is it better or worse?
It is a little better. And I'll tell you, Christmas time, spring break, all of the major holidays used to be gridlock conditions. So when we were in that little spot in ToonTown where we couldn't get through and I was complaining, imagine the whole park being like that. That's what spring break and Christmas used to be like, at least the busiest days of spring break, because all of spring break isn't equally busy.
So
You see, it's busy enough here, Nathan, that they've got the directional signs up. Fantasyland forward, it's a small world to your right. They start putting up directional signs and they put tape on the ground.
I think that was for the parade earlier, and
Yeah,
the second showing.
but
of
they
the
don't
parade.
bother at times of the year when it's not busy. So you know it's going to be crowded when they've got directional signs up pointing you where to go. And busy here. Yesterday when Mike was here, he couldn't walk through this little corridor. So busy.
So, going off of times to visit, there's a question that asks, when is the best month to go off season?
January tends to be the least crowded month. And it used to be that as summer ended, as soon as the kids went back to school, that was also a great time to visit. But now, they take that week between Christmas and when kids go back to school and they turn everything over to Halloween and boom, it gets busy right away. So you will find opportunities here, and as we start wrapping up today's update, you'll notice that it's starting to get busier. A lot of people will be coming over from DCA, a lot of people will be coming over from work, but you can see that right here, Mr. Toad is not crazy. This is a line, it's a bit of a wait for an old school ride like this, but not terrible by any means. So if you are willing to compromise, your kid doesn't have to go on Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, you could trick them and take them on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride instead, and they'll never know. Particularly if your kid doesn't come to Disneyland very often.
So the spring break questions continue. Our dear Beverly asks, do you think spring break will be blocked for the highest level keys in the future?
Yes, we do think that there will be more blockouts coming. The parks are very much keeping an eye on attendance patterns, how things have changed, what happens to the park due to reservations. So if the park is blocked out and you can't make a reservation, that generally doesn't mean you're not going to come. It just means that you'll shift your dates to another day. And that causes a cascading effect that makes other days busier than they've ever been before. So we now have a situation where a Thursday during the week is busier than a Friday. So they're not keeping as close a look on a Thursday, and boom, it gets crazy crowded. So those kinds of situations, they're definitely going to keep an eye on.
Ever going to get fixed?
I'm glad you brought that up, Nathan. All of those finials up there, there's so much. I'm going to zoom in, folks. You're going to lose the screen. There we go. Look at the finials at the top there. They're all missing their little elements. So they've never put their 100th anniversary elements on the top of the castle. So we're wondering what happened. Did they ship them and lose them? Did they not fit? Very interesting.
Oh, look, the evil queen.
Oh, there you are, Nathan. Oh, that's not Nathan.
That is, what was I telling you
Oh my
earlier to
gosh.
start being nicer?
I can't do it. You can't teach an old blogger new tricks.
Connie asks, why are the trees shaped like squares here?
I'm glad you asked about these trees, something that I've loved since I was a little kid. It's just a whimsical look. If you look at the Yvonne Earle background paintings for the original not Snow White, but Sleeping Beauty. They're gorgeous, and the trees look like this. So they have shaped trees like that. Here, also at Disneyland Paris, the castle is surrounded by topiary trees, but it's such a lovely little element. It's like these beautiful fountains that we hope never go away. You can see a little bit of a rainbow in the fountain there as we walk by. We are taking you to a land of adventure. So the other big news of the week is not just ToonTown that opened, but Indiana Jones Surprise opened last week as well, looking better than it has looked in at least a decade, with almost everything working. Some big effects still not working. So the moving walls at the beginning, not working. Some little effects not working. However, most of the effects in the queue, like the pole and the spike room, working. The rope and the well, that's working. The boulder, of course, working. New snake. Snake looks great. With the new color scheme that really pops out better. He's sort of an off-white and red now instead of all green. So you can really see him, and the black lights really catch it.
So we just got a comment from Dawn. It says, "Hey there, was attacked by a stray
Nathan
balloon.
got attacked by a balloon.
We're late to the party, and we will be coming to Disneyland in 3 weeks. Do you have a video that goes through all the restaurants there and what's the best to eat while we're there?"
Well, we don't have one video with all of the restaurants, so that's a good idea. But I will tell you, if you want quick service, so quick food, at Disneyland, it's really just Plaza Inn right now because the French Market by the train station there is closed to become Tiana's, so you'll see that in a second. It's not a lot of great quick service food at Disneyland. If you want super quick food, Bengal barbecue is pretty good, but very expensive. And if you want sit-down restaurants, Blue Bayou, very hard to get, very, very expensive, but pretty good. And Disneyland doesn't have a ton of options. We have also been enjoying lately Docking Bay 7. Not that it's extraordinary food, but it's sort of fun to eat there. It's enclosed. If it's hot, you know, it's air conditioned. If it's cold, it's heated. It's covered from the elements. It's been raining a lot. So we've been going to Docking Bay 7 more than we normally have. Their menu has been significantly scaled back from when it opened, but still some pretty good options there as well. DCA seems to have slightly better dining options. A few places that we enjoy over there. We like going to Flo's, although they have dumbed down that menu as well. The Smoke Jumpers is pretty good, especially if you like onion rings, some great onion rings there. And then if you want fancy food, they have both the Carthay Circle restaurant, which is somewhat difficult to get a reservation for, but has absolutely delicious food. The pork chop is to die for, very expensive. And then there's on the Pier Nathan, the animator one is, oh shoot. I want to call it Animator's Palette. That's not the name.
Lounge.
Lamplight Lounge. That's it. Thank you. And Lamplight Lounge is pretty good. Also very expensive. We stopped there the other day. We were starving. We were able to get a table last minute, even though we didn't have a reservation. They have something that they call a walk-up. You can check in the app and just add your name. And they said it was going to be 30 minutes for the two of us, but it ended up being like 10 minutes. But Nathan got nachos, and I got an appetizer, and we each got a drink, and it was over $100 with tips, so nothing's
Linda
cheap.
wants to remind you that Rancho del Zocalo is also a good option.
Rancho is okay, but unfortunately not the greatest food in the park. I like the salad there, but it has been significantly scaled back. We're here at Indy, reopened, folks, so we're going to take a quick look. We have two things we need to see. First of all, we need to say hey, howdy, hey to the little man of Disneyland. I can't get you back in there because we're blocked off, but I wanted to show you the, oh, there they go. Little man of Disneyland. It was just St. Patrick's Day. He's got a pool going on here. But little man of Disneyland. People were leaving presents for him for St. Patrick's Day. There was even a rainbow behind his tree. 65-minute wait for Indy, again, looking fantastic. And I'm going to tell you some little tips.
I think it brings nightly fireworks through mid-April.
They've added a few little things to the queue. The new movie is coming out. They were not able to get any new effects into the ride. They had been working on possibly doing that. They didn't. They sped up that refurbishment because it's very possible that Splash Mountain will have to close soon, but they added more props to the back of this truck that used to be enclosed. You used to not be able to see inside, and now you can see adventurer stuff in there. And in this tent over here that we cannot quite see from the back side, but you can see from the front side, you can see that it's open there. Journal for one of the characters from the movie is now in that tent. So You wouldn't know what that was if you walked by it, but it's there. These are new props here, these bottles. So there's quite a few new props. Zoom in on, if you look back at that tent, you can see that it is open, and if you look inside, it is fully stocked with stuff. A lot of it inspired by the film, which is opening this summer. Just pretend you're in the jungle, everyone. Queue is full here on the outside. They rebuilt the walkway there and the platform at the top. So there was quite a bit of work that happened during that month and a half long refurbishment. We were expecting it to last until almost summer, but they were able to speed things up, do the big things. There are still things they're working on that will happen at night. So we may start seeing some additional things function that we don't see working now. For example, a lot of the fog effects have not been turned on yet in the ride. They're working on them. They will come back. So we're going to see some fog of the lava pit area and some other areas, and that will be coming soon. And a few other little things. They also added some digital effects to the ride, which I think are fairly impressive. Where the rat scene was, that has been replaced with a new digital lightning bolt thing. Mara is sending lightning bolts at your Jeep trying to get you. It works a lot better than the old rat effect did.
And that was thanks to
Kim Irvine.
Kim Irvine.
Yeah. Legendary Imagineer Kim Irvine, who is working also on this project right here.
Any
try
updates
to find
about when this is going to open?
Nothing. I know there's some big giant props that haven't even arrived yet to be installed, so I think we're still quite a ways off. Probably summer, I would guess, for the tree house. And they'll have a couple of minor attractions opening this summer. So we have the tree house here to look forward to. We also have San Francisco over in Disney California Adventure. We were just over there earlier. We won't have time to make it over there on this video, but the bridge, the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge is reopened. They haven't put the towers in yet, but they have construction walls up to make it safe for you to walk over the bridge, which significantly makes it easier to navigate that little corner of the park. And see, this is overflow for Pirates. It was down earlier for a long time. At one point today, they had Pirates down, Big Thunder, the Rise of the Resistance was down, and Matterhorn were all down at the same time. Getting ready for Fantasmic right now, and just show you real quick. The queue for Pirates. Busy, busy, and there's the treehouse behind it. We can see the thatched roof up there. They've had to pull the scrims down because of winds, which allows us to look in, and from this angle, you see the thatched roof up there, Nathan and Mike. That's one of the things that has recently been repaired and replaced on the attraction. You see a lot of the leaves have been replaced on the tree, on the upper levels there. Mike, does it look like the scaffolding has come down a layer from the top where it used to be? Used to be like a layer higher, I think.
It looks like it might have. I'm starting to see a little bit more visible.
Would love to see that thing completely uncovered. It's been a long time.
A comment question kind of a deal. So CJ says, we're visiting Disneyland next week, celebrating our 40th anniversary. I hope Genie Plus helps. Do you think that'll help them out on their trip?
I do. Genie Plus will definitely help. Is it a panacea? No, look at this long line for Pirates. So I was just saying they weren't on the bridge, but now all of a sudden they are. We just walked by the bridge there was no one up there, and now look at it. It's filled. So you just never know. They may have held up the line for a second and it emptied out. So Genie Plus, it does move things faster. The problem is during spring break, there are more tourists, and whenever there are more tourists, there are more people using Genie Plus. The more people using Genie Plus, the slower the lightning lanes are, and the slower the standby lines are. So
you said during the holidays, up to 50% of guests were using Genie
yeah,
Plus?
as many as 50% of guests were using Genie Plus during the holidays. But it might be even more than that during spring break. A lot of locals come to the park during the holidays, and not necessarily true during spring break. You get a lot more people from out of town. A lot of construction here. This is for Tiana's restaurant, Tiana's Palace. Now, people asking, why isn't it Tiana's Place, which is what Tiana's father wrote on that napkin, and the reason is, at the end of the movie, she's a princess, and she herself calls her restaurant Tiana's Palace. So it was called both things in the movie, Tiana's Place and Tiana's Palace.
Wow, this is where the line starts for Pirates.
So here we are. The line starts here for Pirates of the Caribbean. So we're all the way back here, almost a haunted mansion. And if you want to get in line for Pirates, this is where you get in line. But it's not a fully extended queue. So you can see that they have more switchback here. They're probably going to be opening, oh, they're opening it up now. See them back there, opening up that section of the extended queue. So all of a sudden, Pirates queue just got busy, just like while we were here. It's a monkey see, monkey do kind of a situation, folks. People tend to get in line behind other people, so if they see a line develop, they get in it. We have, you know, just to kind of test that theory, periodically over the years, when we had large groups of mice chatters here for a special event, we would get in line somewhere like on Main Street in front of one of the fake doors and turn around and suddenly there were 50 people in line behind us because they saw a line and they got in it. Fully extended queue for the Haunted Mansion would normally come through here, so this is not fully extended. Why is that? Well, everybody's in line for Pirates.
Don has a comment. We've been watching wait times for the rides on the app and noticed there are a lot of, quote, temporarily closed, unquote, rides. Do you know what's going on with that?
It's just rides that are closed because they're broken, and as we mentioned a little earlier on this video, lots of maintenance issues in the park right now, and there's really no excuse for that. It just means there aren't enough maintenance people, they're not doing enough preventative maintenance, they're probably at this point afraid to take certain rides down for maintenance because it reduces the capacity of the park, and they would have to also reduce the amount of people they let into the park. So it's a big problem. As it is, I think they're letting too many people into the park. It's making the park experience a little bit uncomfortable this spring break. And then when many, many attractions go down, as they did today and as they did yesterday, it impacts the park experience for everyone. Splash Mountain is a mere 30-minute wait for an attraction that will soon be going away. You would expect it to be a lot longer, but it's been a little chilly here in SoCal. It's lower 60s right now. By the time that the video ends, we'll probably be in the 50s. But it is time for you to go see Splash Mountain. And we have a little bit of good news on this one. And that is, a few weeks ago when we rode, a lot of the animatronics were broken and the lighting was horrible, so you couldn't see entire scenes. Some of the animatronics were actually missing, but they've gone in and fixed a lot of things. So there are still a few missing elements and a few broken things, but they've repaired a lot of the lighting, so they have been working on the attraction after hours. That's both good and bad news. It's good news because the attraction looks a little better, and we were saying if they're gonna operate it like this, they might as well just close it and start working.
Some rumblings about this going down by the end of spring.
Yep, we do think that once spring break is over, they'll probably take Splash Mountain down maybe before summer. Although I was talking to somebody else the other day and they said they really think it might even last through the summer, not go down until late summer.
What do you think the likelihood of it going down quietly is? They don't want a repeat of the fanfare that happened at Walt Disney World?
I think they're going to let us know. I don't think there's any way they can keep it secret. There's too many people that are working on the attraction, loose lip sync ships, and I think that's one of the things that they just can't keep hidden for very long. So we'll find out about it one way or another, whether they announce it or we do. Somebody will be announcing when the attraction is going down.
The bridge is getting refinished.
Looks like they
look at the
stripped
difference
it.
between
Yeah, that's interesting.
Monster Kid Corey asks, is early to mid-May still a good time to go to Disneyland, or is it just ridiculously full all the time now?
Mid-May is still spring break, so it would be crazy busy. And then towards the end of May, it does start getting better. By June, you start getting summer crowds, but there's a little period there between spring break and summer where it quiets down significantly.
I think the official spring break season, from Disneyland at least, they stopped doing nightly fireworks on April 16.
Yeah. So that's when Disneyland notices that they're not going to be as busy, but it still could be very busy even after they stop doing. As we noticed, even before they started doing nightly fireworks, and that's the good news for spring break, right? So fireworks are usually only Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They do Fantasmic nightly, but they're doing fireworks nightly right now because it's so busy. So that's the good side of spring break. If you don't mind, the attractions all being busy.
Our friend Kevin brings up something interesting. He says, I thought the line thing was going on a couple weeks ago for chocolate Easter eggs, but it was actually for something. The Easter eggs, the chocolate fudge eggs.
We've got news for you on those
crazy.
eggs. That was just a nutty situation. So they're making them 3 days a week, and then they sell them the next day. So technically, they're usually selling them on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Is that right? So the situation was they were just suddenly starting to sell them. And there was a brawl that kind of broke out. People were fighting each other, not with fists, but some shouting and, maybe a little shoving a couple of weeks ago. So people go nutty for these eggs. Well, this is Disneyland's fault. When they sell candy canes, they announce in advance when they're going to be and how to obtain them. You come at opening, they hand you a wristband or they give you a ticket to return, and you buy your candy cane. There is no problem. But for whatever reasons with the Easter eggs, they decided to be secretive. And then as soon as people found out they were available, people start pushing and shoving and trying to get there, and there's chaos that ensues because there's a very limited number of them. So since then, they have realized they had to do something. 100 minutes for Rise of the Resistance. 100 minutes. Would not wait that long. So what they're doing now is at opening on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, at least for now. That doesn't mean they necessarily have to do this, but it's what they've been doing. People line up at the candy store when the park opens, they hand out the tickets, and then that's that. I think they start distributing them around 2:30 or 3. And then if there are any left over, then at around 4-ish, they will sell them to anybody who shows up. But people know that, so the line gets long for that. I was able to get one that way, one of the leftover Easter eggs the other day.
There were like 8 eggs left.
There were eight eggs left, and I waited 1 hour for them.
There's a max limit of two eggs.
Yeah.
So switching topics, Andrew asks, so any rumors what's next for Disneyland now that ToonTown is open? It seems like the only thing we're looking forward to is the Treehouse and Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that is on the long-term plan for Disneyland. So we're eventually going to hear about the new Avengers attraction in Avengers Campus. That will be happening soon. There will definitely be something that eventually happens to Tomorrowland. We'll talk about that soon. But not anything that's going to be announced immediately. So Treehouse, Tiana's restaurant, there may be a few little things going on at some of the restaurants, new menus and things, but there won't be some big giant news for Disneyland until they announce likely Tomorrowland, whenever that is. And it could be quite a while before.
You did have a great idea
more.
when you wrote about ToonTown last week that ToonTown has everything that Galaxy's Edge is missing.
Yeah, we're here right now, and it's actually one of the reasons I'm headed in here. There's a lot of things that Galaxy's Edge has. So Galaxy's Edge has a lot of shopping. Galaxy's Edge has 2 big giant attractions. They have Rise of the Resistance, Millennium Falcon, all these little peek-in shops. There's a great level of detail. But notice, compared to the rest of the park, Galaxy's Edge really isn't that busy. Why is that? Because for the gigantic amount of space, there are only 2 rides. And there's only the 1 restaurant, and then this quick serve, and then the bar, Oga's Cantina, which is next to impossible to get into. However, ToonTown is packed, and it's not just because it's new, it's because it's smaller, and they're using all of their space. So all of the attractions there practically touch each other. So Roger Rabbit and Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, their show buildings are touching each other. And then in between them is that play area. And then you have Goofy's Play Yard, Donald's Boat, and then the roller coaster, boom, 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 right next to each other. There's the little shop. There's the very popular restaurant, Daisy's Cafe, which doesn't have any indoor seating. That's a negative. So they're just using space better in ToonTown. If they had spent that kind of time and effort to kind of flesh out the rest of Galaxy's Edge here, it would be very busy back here. I think there's room here for them to do a kid attraction of some sort, something family friendly. We would like to see them find a way to get Darth Vader and some of the other classic characters into this land. That would help a lot.
I'd like to see a second bar, something for the Resistance.
Yeah, for sure. A different type of bar. Maybe one that's fancier, a little more Corellian in style than this gritty bar here. So there's a lot of opportunities for them to do more, but they're locked in this weird time period, and I think people want to see the characters that they know. So aside from just Chewbacca and Rey, I think they do want to see Luke and Leia and C-3PO and Lando, and they definitely want to see Darth Vader. One of the ways they could do it, Nathan, is right here. See this round building? That is a big, giant, empty, round building. And one of the things they could do is just pretend it's like a holodeck of some sort, and you go in and you see Darth Vader, and they could just pretend that he's a vision or something. But they have to find a way to get those characters in here. Here's
So one
Oga's
thing that's
Cantina.
interesting is that Star Wars: The Galaxy's Edge out in Disney's Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World is even more restrictive in terms of their land-specific time zone. But they've since backtracked a little bit, and now they have Mando and and Grogu.
Yeah, they're a little more concerned there only because they have the Galaxy Star Cruiser, that hotel that you pay $15,000 to visit for 2 nights. But that's a big, giant failure, that hotel. So I think they're re-examining everything regarding...
Ooh, a stage show.
It is not a stage show. This is such a... oh, God, I hate this. Everybody is lined up here. Look at all these people, all to watch what they think is a stage show. But they just come off the ship and then they say 2 words and then they walk off the stage. And everybody's like, what, the what? What was that? the 5-minute show that isn't a show.
You do see the officer get force choked, though.
Yeah, they choke somebody, so that's good.
There's a question from Raina asking if there's any Encanto themed things in the future.
There should be some Encanto something or another coming up at some point. It's so popular. They're doing the Bruno projections again on Small World. So that was a short-term opportunity that they did last year. It was only meant to run for a short period of time. It was extended until holidays, and then they stopped because the holidays they do projections on Small World for the holidays, but it's back. So even though they're doing projections during fireworks for the new Wondrous Journeys, they're doing the Bruno show several times. I think they do it more than once an hour even, and it's very popular. So people love Encanto, they love We Don't Talk About Bruno, and there at some point will be more. We had hoped that that's what they were going to do with the treehouse. It would have made sense. It's a tropical theme. One of the kids, his room is essentially a jungle with a giant tree in it, so they could have made it work in some way. But we're still happy that essentially Swiss Family Robinson's treehouse is coming back, but without the Swiss family themselves. So it's a family other than the Swiss people, inspired by the Swiss people. Got it?
So
Good.
We were just walking through Star Wars. People are wondering if there could potentially be a tie-in to The Mandalorian, given its extreme success beyond just a walk-around character.
Anything's possible. What would they do though at this point? I think that one of the logical things, and I've been hearing rumors about, is that we may see some updates and different destinations and opportunities on Millennium Falcon at some point. It would be neat if Mandalorian was tied into that. It would be neat if people could see the little Grogu a little more close up than just the quick walkthroughs.
If you're not watching these comments, you should be. They're pretty funny. Brian says they should have a Tauntaun meetup, and Monster Kid Corey says they should let you crawl in a Tauntaun.
They should. On cold nights, you should be able to use a lightsaber.
We are so far away from ToonTown, but they're doing their magic key offering right
Why
here.
is that? So this is the magic key giveaway. It's this poster. I'll get up there. Mike's taking a picture, so I just wanted to. You see that? Here's what it looks like. It's very pretty artwork. I like that a lot. Very cute. But you pick it up. If you're a magic key holder, you can line up over here. There's a lot of people in line. This is not new. They've been doing it for over a week.
Hello? Oh, I gotta go home now?
And then you just show them the magic key and boom.
Why aren't they doing this closer to Small World? Or
It's so busy over there. Like, where would they do it?
even within ToonTown?
I mean, there's no room to do it. I think the last thing they want to do is send more people to ToonTown. One of the only areas in this whole park that is not like crazy busy is Big Thunder Trail. So they literally found the only spot in the whole park that isn't impacted.
Dawn asks, is the Main Street Electrical Parade a thing of the past again?
No, we'll see the Main Street Electrical Parade again. I think we'll see it this summer.
Their words were, it's Disneyland's perennial parade.
Yeah.
They're going to bring it back forever and ever and ever.
My thought on the parades for this summer, to kind of boost attendance if they need to, they'll roll Electrical Parade back out in the evenings, and then they'll do the return of Magic Happens during the day. So Magic Happens will be the daytime parade, and they'll do Electrical Parade in the evenings. Just like they used to. They used to do 2 parades every day at Disneyland. When I was a kid, there would be a daytime parade and there would be Electrical Parade in the evening. They have been slowly updating the Electrical Parade, so we have the new Small World ending to Electrical Parade. I think they would like to add another unit in the next year or 2. But again, if they're packed already, then they may not do it because they don't want to frustrate people. I think it really depends on how attendance is. And there is some concern that once spring break ends that conditions are going to soften up. Economy's not fabulous. Inflation is still high. People are still, keeping track of their travel dollars. So not just Disneyland, but other theme parks as well. Knott's has been busy, Universal has been busy, but just before spring break, they weren't. We covered that on a previous week.
We did that a couple weeks ago.
Busy over here at Big Thunder. Lots of trouble with Big Thunder lately. It's really been having a lot of downtime. It has a refurbishment coming up. It is going to be a fairly short refurbishment, however, so we're hoping that they can fix the issue.
Wait, we're waiting for them to fix it.
So we were just talking about Main Street Electrical Parade. Now there are questions about its spiritual successor, Paint the Night. Do you think that we'll see that again?
I hope so. And I was talking to one of the senior managers over there at Disney's California Adventure a couple of months ago, and I asked, is the problem with Paint the Night the money, or is it that there are all of these food festivals and you can't run the parade down the parade route? What's the issue? And I was told, well, it's definitely not the food festivals. They can run that parade with those booths where they are. So that's not the problem. And money isn't exactly the problem. The issue is staffing. So they can't get enough people to man their booths for their festivals, much less their giant parade. And it is a much more expensive parade to run than Electrical Parade. So I think what they're waiting for is an excuse to bring it back. They will eventually get that excuse. The parade will come back at some point. It's too good of a parade not to. And they do need to do a little bit of work on some of the costumes. There were lots of complaints from the cast members about the comfort of some of the costumes injuring cast members. So those kind of issues need to be addressed.
Look how clean
Before the
this
parade
little
can come back,
dedication
but
plaque
fairly easy problems to fix.
clean.
So, someday, and ask for it. If you're concerned that you haven't seen a parade in California Adventure and the only nighttime spectacular that they offer is World of Color, then you should mention that at guest relations. Disneyland has a parade and fireworks and Fantasmic, and all they have at DCA for the same amount of money is World of Color, which is quite a bit more lackluster compared to fireworks and Fantasmic.
I want to give
and
a
parade.
shout out to Matt, Photo Matt, if he's watching.
Well, Photomat.
Because he specifically asked about the pink lapacho trees last time.
Well, we're going to show him. Last week I couldn't be on the video because I was in Florida. I was at Epcot. So I pre-recorded a video and uploaded it to our channels around 5, but I was on an airplane at 5, and I was having the hardest time getting internet on the airplane so that I could just press the publish button. But I eventually got it to happen. We're showing the pink lapacho trees. I'm not sure what kind of trees they actually are. We usually call them pink lapacho. I've heard them called pink trumpet flower trees. It's maybe the same thing. See, the two on the far end here are not blooming yet. Just starting to get the pink on that one. No pink yet on this one. And this one is beautiful. The one in front of Minnie's house in ToonTown is beautiful. This one just barely has any pink on that, but they're starting to bloom. So by next week, it should be gorgeous here. What do you think, Pinocchio? Is it beautiful? You'll know if he's lying or not. His nose will grow. Busy, busy. You can also tell that it's spring break because you see a lot of people in matching shirts. Earlier, I heard a huge group of people and somebody was shouting out, you know, find your chaperone, find your chaperone. Something you wouldn't normally hear in the park. People sitting on the curbs because they're getting ready for the parade.
There's a question about how mobile order is going these days, especially since it's busier.
Mobile order is still horrible, and the more people using it, the worse it gets. Notice benches here along the parade route, even more benches on the other side. Both sides of the street have benches. Matt, there are benches on the street. That's good news, folks. So yes, crazy busy, but look at this. I am so happy to have benches back. Both sides of the street. Look at that. Isn't that nice? And even during the parade, it's great because they will stay seated. And then you can stand directly behind them and still get a good view. It makes it better for everyone. Some spring balloons there. You know what I think we might do, Nathan, is take these fine folks down downtown Disney real quick and show them the Disneyland hotel construction. We've been wanting to do that for the longest time on the way in. The problem is they won't let me keep this video on and go through security. So we don't do it the other way around, but we could definitely do it this way. Do you see them making the Easter eggs?
I think they're done for the day on that part. They're now making toffee.
Making toffee. That's good too. I like a good toffee. All these people waiting for the beautiful parade. Magic happens. I do like this parade a lot. Do you like this one, Nathan?
I do. It's very fun. And I've always been obsessed with magic. So this is the perfect parade for me. Every float is is inspired by a specific moment of magic.
A transformation, True Love's kiss. I don't know what Merlin's moment of magic is other than he seems to be on some sort of a drug because he's very hyperactive in the parade.
Just a little bit of angel dust.
That's
Excuse me,
something.
pixie dust. This is
Nothing crazy.
Disneyland.
Still having lots of issues with the windows. That's just going to be an ongoing thing, I fear. We'll still be writing about that. Hello! Pretty train just rolled into the station. Look at this, Nathan. Not one person waiting for the Mickey statue.
I think it's because is this a walkway for, I guess not.
Take a picture here. Take a mental picture of this little feller. Love that shot. They're still doing the gallery exhibition. They will probably for the rest of this year and maybe even beyond. It's not the best produced exhibit they've ever done. I think it was very last minute kind of thing. But it's better than nothing, and at least they have finally replaced the Haunted Mansion exhibit. Long lines here for the popcorn cart. Oh, it's churro cart. Why is it so long? People just want a churro? Is this a special flavor or something? Mike or Nathan, is this a special flavor right now? Why is the line so long?
I think it's just a normal churro.
Yeah, so.
A crazy long line for it. Yikes. Well, we're going to do something special, folks. We're going to walk out into downtown Disney. We're going to see if we can see some of the Easter eggs. And the Easter eggs are also hidden here inside of Disneyland. So both parks are doing the Easter egg extravaganza. A little easier to play in downtown Disney if you've got kids and it's crowded in the parks. Usually during the day, downtown Disney isn't very busy. I still don't quite understand the trend of wearing pajamas to a theme park, but that's a thing that's still happening. Minnie Mouse is the floral right here at the front of the park. For those of you who haven't seen it, just check the Monday update. We've got a pretty picture that we'll have in there. But basically they just add a bow to Mickey's head and some eyelashes, and bingo, Mickey is now Minnie. They didn't have to replant it at all. They just put a bow on there.
So Dawn asks a pretty fair question in today's day and age. If there's free Wi-Fi at the resort, and there's a resounding yes in the comments.
Oh yes, there is
Wi-Fi.
There's free Wi-Fi. We recommend that you don't use it. For example, right now in this video, if we were using the park Wi-Fi, we would have dropped you a long time ago. So we turn it off and just use our cellular connection. The park Wi-Fi is horrible. Even the park operators know that. I was complaining about it during the ToonTown event because I needed to upload an image and some video for our coverage, and it dropped. So I switched over to my cellular and it went right through. And I told one of the park operators about it, and she apologized and said, we know it's terrible. We're trying to figure out what to do. That was a big issue in Florida when they started doing Magic Mobile and all that stuff, where everything was digital, and they invested a lot of money into Wi-Fi in all their parks. But even there, it's just spotty and awful. And it sucks the battery on your phone when you're connecting and disconnecting constantly from Wi-Fi as your phone's trying to reconnect. It eats a lot of battery. So easier just to use the cellular on your phone.
So
DCA,
Monster Kid
we're going to
Corey
walk
makes
right by it.
a good point about what we just talked about. They say, I'm not an American and my data doesn't reach into the USA, so no Genie for me. I guess I don't get to mobile order and eat either.
Well, you are blessed that you don't get to do that. There are ways around that. You can buy a temporary data plan. So you can check. You can even rent a cellular device from a lot of different carriers and places in the resort area even. So there are options for you. But yeah, Disney doesn't make it easy, not just for foreign visitors, but also for people that don't have smartphones, for older people that might find it very difficult to figure out all of these mobile devices. And I use these apps and devices all day, every day, as part of our job here at Mice Chat. And even I find it sometimes, not that I don't know how to do it, but that I find it inconvenient to do it. And I would rather just get in a line and order food than to use mobile order. And that is what I do. Most of the time, I'm complaining about lines because I'm in standby, because I don't want to use mobile order. Inconvenient for me. It's convenient for Disney, but not for me. And at the prices that Disney charges, they just should make it easier. I let them know every time I can.
Rick says, why are they playing harmonious music there? It's part of the Disney 100 soundtrack loop that they're doing.
The whole loop here has changed. There's all sorts of music from Epcot, and you'll find the music from Journey into Imagination here. But then they also have stuff like Electrical Parade and other things. So
was it the date night at Disneyland?
yeah, I actually really like this music loop. Just it's a little more fun than the old one. But yeah, it's weird to hear Harmonious and other things playing.
Are you going to be sad that Harmonious is leaving Walt Disney
Oh
World?
my gosh, I'm so glad. I was just there, and as I was walking around, I ran into one of the publicists that we work with there, and she was asking, will I be seeing Harmonious one last time? And I said, God, no, I'm not going to see Harmonious again. Let me know if I can pay to help blow it up. I mean, I would pay money to buy the dynamite to blow up those barges. They are going to be chopped up and recycled. They're removing them. And I have good news. The new show that's coming, well, temporarily, they're going to bring back Epcot Forever, which is great because it's a fun show that plays music from the early days of Epcot, and that was all music that Marty Sklar, the famed Imagineer, former head of Imagineering, who's now sadly gone, he really forced them to produce all that music. So it was his idea that the major pavilions should all have a theme song. And he's the reason why the park was so magical when it opened. But over the years, after he kind of moved on from that, they sort of started neutering the park and getting rid of the theme songs. And sometimes the attraction would still be there, but they would just do instrumental versions of the song or new versions instead of the musical version. And it was a big mistake. It's part of the optimism and fun of that park was that everything had a song. It was a happy place to be. So I'm glad to see Epcot Forever. After that, they have a new show coming, and all I can tell you is that they are definitely going to use barges that float in and out. So during the day, they will be gone, and then at night, they'll float them out onto the river as it should be.
That sounds like what happened with, what was that? The previous Epcot show with the globe?
Yeah.
Saw that one time and then Harmonious after that.
Yep. Illuminations, reflections of Earth. Long line here. This is for Naples.
Well, we should have been keeping an eye out for Easter eggs.
The eggs are harder to find this year.
Brianna asked what the prize was this year.
Oh, I think the prizes are little eggs.
You get to choose one of 6 little characters.
And I think they're the same eggs that they offered last year. I don't think they're new. We'll take a look at them. There's nothing really else that's too new here. We'll take a look at the menu at Salt and Straw. Nathan keeps an eagle eye on their menu. He's always letting me know, Dusty, there's something vegan on the menu for you. We go in and get it. And you were right, Nathan. That was the most delicious vegan ice cream I've ever had.
This month is all about cereal.
I'm just gonna show you, but they are hovering. Line is not too bad because it's middle of the day.
I have one little gripe though. At other Salt and Straw locations, you can get milkshakes, but you can't get a single milkshake at Downtown Disney except from Black Tap.
I don't know that I like this idea of cereal in my ice cream, but
you say that because you just haven't tried it. It's amazing.
Awful. The one I liked is this one. It's the peanut butter brittle caramel fudge. That's vegan, and it is delicious.
Don says, one more question. You guys are great sports. Do you ever buy special little trinket souvenirs from Disneyland, or are you done with all that? If only she could see our house.
It's so funny you should ask, because for the longest time, something new would come out at Disneyland, and I would have to have it. I mean, I would have to have it. But there were certain things that I just couldn't help myself, like the Olszewski miniatures. Remember when Robert Olszewski was creating miniatures of the whole park, and they did all of Main Street as individual buildings, and then they started doing the rest of the park, but then they sort of gave up. So they did a little bit of Fantasyland, they did Jungle Cruise, they did Haunted Mansion, they did Pirates of the Caribbean, and then it just sort of stopped. He had even shown us the model for the Matterhorn, and it was going to have a Skyway bucket that went through it. Oh, amazing, but he stopped. So I have a partially complete Disneyland. And then he did the shadow boxes. Those were amazing. I have quite a few of those. And I had big figs for the longest time. But I must say that as I get older and I look at my house and I think, first of all, I don't want anyone to come into my house and think he's some insane Disney person that only has Disney things. I also collect mid-century art and some other things, so it's not all Disney. And then, what am I going to do with this stuff? Like, when I die, what's going to happen with all this Disney stuff? And Nathan's like, oh yes, it's all going to the junkyard. So we will see what happens. I definitely do not collect things like I used to. I could care less now. Unless I see a pin that I absolutely love, I'm not buying every pin. Here's the construction on Disney Home, by the way. Still like it was. They put a floor in up there, so remember those soaring atriums? Now we'll have a ceiling. And we think that's to accommodate the new Mexican restaurant that will take up that second floor. We think they're going to add additional seating for the new Mexican restaurant. So if there's a new Mexican restaurant going in, Nathan, what's going to happen to Tortilla Joe's, owned by the same company that's building the new Mexican restaurant where Catal was? And Catal is closing any day now.
Yes, I believe.
So, Catal will be closing likely this week or next. And then they'll start construction on the new Mexican restaurant. When that opens, are they going to need Tortilla Joe's? We doubt it. So we expect this one will close down shortly after the new Mexican restaurant opens.
Bring back
and this will become
Rainforest Cafe.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Or T-Rex.
But they were never here, so they wouldn't be going into this spot. But
just imagine the T-Rex in this spot, though.
I don't think there's enough room. T-Rex needs a huge soaring ceiling for the Tyrannosaurus and everybody. Ugly restaurant over here that used to be Ralph Brennan's Jazz Kitchen. It's going to be Jazz Kitchen, Coastal Grill, and Patio. When it's done, they've already removed almost all of the unique stuff, and now it just looks like this. It looks like a California pizza kitchen. Congratulations, Disney. People come to Disneyland for themed experiences that you can't get anywhere else, and for whatever reason, lately, they've been trying to deliver things that look exactly like you would find in your local mall. I think that is one reason why we now have a new head of Imagineering. He's actually sharing the top spot with the current director of Imagineering, but he's the lead creative, and I think it will help put an end to awful projects like is happening right there at the former Brennan's. We don't need more IKEA at the Disneyland Resort. We need the exact opposite of that. I think the thing that makes Disneyland unique is that they used to build things on a scale that other people just couldn't do, and nowadays, the one building on a scale that no one else can do is Universal. They just opened their wonderful Toothsome's Chocolate Factory. It's a fully themed, steampunk-esque chocolate factory with a delicious menu. They have a separate ice cream sundaes section in there. You can get it at your table, but you can also just order a sundae to go. They have a chocolate store. They sell merchandise. It is wonderful. And they even have walk-around characters. Disneyland needs to be doing that. Instead of removing the theme, they need to be adding more of it. Meanwhile, over here, they've turned the old Rainforest Cafe into a half-assed Star Wars store. It only uses a tiny portion of that building. They could have potentially opened a Star Wars cantina or cafe upstairs. They didn't. Disney is not exactly operating at its full creativity these days. They're doing some amazing things, and we think they did a great job on ToonTown.
So there's a question from earlier, from Andrew, asking about what's happening at the dirt lot just to the left of us.
Well, let's show you that dirt lot, because there is absolutely, positively nothing to see. It's still just a wall that goes on and on and on. On the other side of that wall, and you'll see pictures on my shed, just a bunch of trenches in the ground. They're laying some pipes. That project is going nowhere fast. They're not even planning to open it until 2024. 2025 now. It'll be a long time for them to open. And it's not a huge building either. Very disappointing.
And they're also going to be doing work over here as well with the new entrance.
Yeah. I can't even bring myself to talk about it because it's just so underwhelming. They're going to be putting security gates in near what used to be the downtown Disney parking is now cast member parking. That's on the other side of this sad ESPN building. So we're walking out here, out the gate, because I wanted to show you all what's going on at the Disneyland Hotel. We also have a wonderful article up today from David about the Trader Sam's news. So we called it Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki News is the name of the article. But there are new mugs. There's a new mug flight for tequila tastings.
Rum tasting.
Yeah, rum tastings. That's right, Nathan. Rum drinks at a tiki bar.
There's also a recipe to make your very own hippopotami tie.
Hippopotami tie. I like the new hippopotami tie mug. It's orange. I have several versions of that hippopotami tie mug. Also of the zombie mug. They keep changing it over the years, changing the glaze. I even have a glass version of the hippopotami tie mug. So we're going to go the fun way. So you're going to go by all of this construction. This construction is for pavement. So there's nothing really exciting here. You can see there, they just ripped up all the pavement. What's unique about that, though, is it's taking so long. It's been weeks and weeks like this.
Marla asks two things. Is Wonderground returning back to its location, downtown Disney? And two, is the dirt lot where Din Tai Fung is going to be going?
Yes. So yes on both of those. So Wonderground and the home store will both be returning to their original spaces when they're done. And Din Tai Fung is scheduled to go in where the dirt lot is. Also, the Portos will be coming to the west end of downtown Disney. Now that does not mean it's going where the dirt lot is. So it could potentially be going where ESPN is now.
Portos is going where the Earl of Sandwich Tavern is right now.
That's right. Portos
location.
is going where the Earl of Sandwich is now. Earl of Sandwich is moving to the west end of. That is right. Thank you, Nathan. It doesn't make sense to me that Portos is moving so close to the park, because one of the things Portos does is they sell cakes and big things, and it would be so inconvenient if you were parking in downtown Disney to have to walk all the way to the Esplanade to pick up your cake and then walk all the way back out with it through security. If you stayed in this hotel with all this construction going on, and then the coffee shop is closed most of the day, so you have to walk all the way to the far end of downtown Disney to pick up your coffee in the morning. They do have a coffee shop open in the morning here, but it's awful.
It could be worse. You could be staying at Paradise Pier,
Oh,
where there's
poor people.
no
There's nothing at all.
service.
Now that child was melting down and could have used that quiet space in ToonTown.
Didn't you have an idea for something a while ago, Magical Meltdowns?
I own the website, magicalmeltdowns.com. More about that later, folks. There's nothing to see on that site now. It's not up, but someday it will be. Certainly have a lot of content. Behind the Disneyland slides, and all I smell is chlorine right now, so they have a chlorine abundance going on. Behind that is the new villas at the Disneyland Hotel. And it looks quite a bit different than the other buildings once those scrims come down, which they will.
Right when you walk into this area right here, you make a right.
So the height is about the same as the other hotel,
Yeah.
but the color scheme is different. We find it so strange. They rushed to change all of these buildings to blue. So they were blue before, but now they're blue, blue, blue. But this new building is sort of a gray and yellow, and it looks nothing like the rest. We find that so interesting, particularly because over at the Grand, the DVC units look exactly like the rest of the hotel, and all of the other DVC properties at Disney where there's an existing hotel and they build a DVC wing, a Disney Vacation Club wing, they all look like the rest of the facility. But here, this tower looks completely different, and it will be painted completely different.
These open September 28th.
What's
this
interesting,
year.
you can book them right now, and
you don't-
there's a lot of anger amongst Disney Vacation Club members, because usually when a new Disney Vacation Club facility opens, They start selling it before it's done. And then the first and only people that can stay there are DVC members. But on this hotel, they're doing it completely differently than that. So right now, they did allow Disney Vacation Club members to be the first to book, so they've already been booking. However, they can't book with points. They're paying because they haven't started selling this hotel yet. So you can't buy DVC points here, but you can book it as a regular hotel room. And then they allowed annual pass holders or Magic Key holders to book, and then regular public. So you can book now. It's available. I'm looking at some beautiful looking rooms. If you can kind of see through the scrim there, some big balconies, particularly at the top where they have the grand villas.
Two-story villa.
Two-story villa with two balconies, and that's impressive. It does look gorgeous. A friend of mine booked the villa. She wants to have a little party there. She said, could I come join her? Of course, I'm not going to say no to that.
Are we taking any last-minute questions?
I'm going to take everyone inside. Hopefully we don't lose the stream, because one of my favorite little things in the resort is just through these doors. And a couple of things. This area used to be waterfalls. Does anyone remember the waterfalls and the koi that used to be right in through here before the walls went in forever, changed everything? Well, this is a little homage to the old waterfalls. They put this tiny waterfall in here, and then every once in a while that geyser that you see lit up right here, it looks like a big donut. That is a geyser, and you will see a huge plume of water go up. It happens every once in a blue moon.
Nature is simply amazing.
Nature at its finest, an all-natural geyser. I'll show you here what that hotel tower is supposed to look like. They have some construction art, but you can see this is what the tower will look like. It's yellow and blue and off-white. And then here is what the neighboring towers look like. New tower, existing tower, nothing like each other. Which is why I think these buildings are not long for the world. I think that when they start building Disneyland forward, these old hotel towers will likely come down, and they will start building more towers like the new one there at the Disneyland villas. So I wanted to come in here. This is the Frontier Tower of the Disneyland hotels, and they have this beautiful Big Thunder model here. And I could just spend a whole day just looking at this thing. It is so huge and amazing, but it's the model Tony Baxter had built when they were designing the attraction. There's Rainbow Ridge there. The switchback queue, which is an incredible queue that sort of hides the queue. It's such a brilliant design. The dinosaur bones there. So 1/4 to
Suzanne says, show the
1 foot.
hidden Mickey.
I'm not sure I know where the hidden Mickey is, Suzanne. Is it in the rocks?
Anything's a hidden Mickey if you try hard
We
enough.
stopped and watched the train go by in this exact spot earlier in this video. There's where your Magic Key gift was being handed out. And then when you go in here, of course, all the lanterns are going and the big explosion. It's such an impressive attraction. It's neat. You
Suzanne
come through the
says,
train.
on the incline to the left, made out of wheels, gears.
I'm not sure I see it.
They were going crazy to see it. They wanted to see it really early, and I was like, you have to come to everyone else.
Oh, there it is.
Mike,
It's right next to that tower. So the big rock
oh,
right there. It's
it's
facing
very,
to the
very,
left.
yeah, it's very hidden. I'm gonna zoom in. There it is. Let's see, I'll try it. Let's get
Also
it from
in the
above.
attraction as well. So if you see it here, keep an eye out for it on your next time.
I think I found it. Is that it, folks? All
Yeah, if
right.
you look, it's on the right hand side of the screen.
And with that,
Andrew
ladies and
says that
germs-
was a gumball rally question. We've written so many questions over the years, it's hard to keep track of everything.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, with that, we come to an end. And as we look at the old Fort Wilderness here, we say adieu. But don't worry, we will always be back with more. In fact, we have some surprises in the Monday update. So do not miss the Mice Chat Monday update. First thing in the morning, around 6 o'clock a.m. or so, we'll have that up. There should be some interesting new news for you. So don't miss it. And we will be back with you again, folks, I promise. Real soon. Bye-bye now.